Hello and welcome to On Point. I am Deepak Suresh Kumar filling in for our managing editor Kartikesh Sharma. Today we have two On Points lined up for you. Let's get started. In On Point 1, after days of fear and tension following the deadly ambush on church leaders, 31 hostages belonging to the Kuki and Naga communities have now been released. But while this is being seen as a breakthrough, questions remain over whether the violence-hit state is truly moving towards stability or not. In On Point 2, a major geopolitical shift may now be underway in South Asia. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief General Asim Munir are expected to visit Bangladesh. The timing is very crucial. So, is Pakistan's new Eastern Front coming soon? We decode that big story. Now, let's get started with the top stories. Indore High Court delivers verdict on Bochala, recognizes complex as temple of goddess Vagdevi. The High Court also states Muslim side needs to file an application for mosque land. Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan says NEET exam to be computer-based from next year. Vows strict action against the exam mafia. Says there will be zero tolerance against such activities. In a major boost for India, PM Modi signs agreement with UAE for strategic petroleum reserves, supply of liquefied petroleum gas, LPG also signed. Abbas Araghchi at BRICS FM meet backs India as mediator to broker peace in West Asia. As he says, Pakistan's mediation has not failed completely but is in a very difficult phase. Viewers, it's time for On Point 1. A major breakthrough has emerged from violence-hit Manipur after 31 people belonging to the Kuki and Naga communities were released following intense overnight efforts by security agencies and even civil society groups. The development comes just days after deadly ambush on church leaders that sharply escalated tensions in districts. While the releases have brought temporary relief, protests, allegations against militant groups and deep mistrust between communities continue to keep the situation extremely fragile. And the big question now is whether this is only a brief pause in the violence or whether there is long-term stability in sight. Because 31 people belonging to the Kuki and Naga communities who were allegedly held hostage by armed groups in Manipur's Kangpokpi and Senapati districts have now been released in a significant late-night development. And according to officials, 12 Naga women from Konsakul village were released at Makon village, while several Kuki civilians, including women and church-linked individuals, were handed over to security forces in Senapati district. Two Salesian brothers associated with Don Bosco institutions were also freed separately. Survivors described being blindfolded and taken to unknown hilly locations during their captivity. The releases come after sustained pressure from local organizations, security agencies and political negotiations led by the state government. However, the situation remains extremely sensitive as anger continues to grow following the killing of church leaders earlier this week. Let's listen in to a Naga village guard who claims to have freed an underage woman hostage.
The Naga village guard Northern Command, upon the request of the CSOs of Senapati, is releasing a Kuki lady hostage on the ground of her age and gender. Similarly, a Mitai individual was also handed over to the police last evening upon verification of his identity. Furthermore, we want that no individuals from Zomi community were detained within Senapati jurisdiction.
Viewers, the latest hostage crisis has once again exposed the deep fragility of inter-community relations in Manipur's hill districts. The violence erupted after suspected militants ambushed church leaders travelling through Kangpokpi district on Tiger Road, killing senior religious figures and injuring several others. In the aftermath, allegations and counter-allegations also intensified between different ethnic groups, with both Kuki and Naga organizations accusing armed factions of targeted intimidation. Protest sit-ins were organized across affected districts demanding justice, security and immediate intervention by the government. The attack has particularly shaken reconciliation efforts that were reportedly underway between tribal communities in the region. And security agencies now fear that unless confidence building measures are urgently strengthened, the violence could widen into another prolonged phase of instability across the hills. And the real challenge before the government is not just restoring order, but rebuilding trust between communities that now increasingly see each other through fear and suspicion. To help us understand what really is happening in Manipur, we have Brijesh Pandey, our input editor, PK Mishra, former ADG BSF, Hejang Misao, a social activist from Manipur, and Colonel retired Shanti Kumar Sapam, spokesperson of the Meitei Heritage Society. Brijesh, first, we've seen two-way conflict between two ethnicities. Now there's a third one also emerging. Is it at its nascent stage where it can be nipped at the bud, or is it reaching a very dangerously new phase?
Well, I think what has happened today, Deepak, when the news of the release of hostages have come, it's a very welcome development. Because I personally feel that it would definitely help calm the tempers a bit. But if you feel that the release of the hostages will result in complete de-escalation, I don't see that happening as well. So the situation remains fragile, and the overall situation in Manipur remains fragile, where one killing is enough spark to completely burn down the forward movement built by the agencies, the local people involved, and also the state government. So yes, it's a very welcome move that 31 individuals belonging to both Naga and Kuki communities, they have been released, especially women and children, and it's a good step forward as far as building trust is concerned. But I would leave it at that. I would say that the situation still remains very tense and literally sitting on a tinderbox.
Mr. Misao, how do you look at the release of these hostages? Your first thoughts, sir?
First of all, I would say it's a big shame for both the community who belongs to Christian religion, and both the communities are also the tribal community. Rather than the harbinger of peace, engaging in this kind of hostility is a big shame. And it is also shameful to be called ourselves as Christians, because the Christian teaching says love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now what is happening is very unfortunate. As the aftermath of the killing of the church leaders, there is eventual holding of hostages of the civilian, both from the Naga and the Kuki. And it is a welcome to everyone, especially to those of the hostages who were released. And I would also appeal to both the communities to release the remaining hostages. Still, 6 Nagas men are under the custody of the Kuki, and 14 Kukis men are still under the custody of the Nagas. And I have already made appeal even in my Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp status, requesting both the community to show sanity and avoid all this savagery kind of action by releasing those innocent people on humanitarian ground, and also for the sake of the family members.
So, but such appeals are being made since the violence started in 2023, but so far nothing has really been done as far as restoring the peace and normalcy is concerned. Colonel Shanti Kumar Sapam, what is it that's missing, as far as bringing all the communities together and having a very, amicable solution to the entire crisis?
Good evening, everyone, and a big jai hind to the country. Well, firstly, what I would like to say is, yesterday's situation that I would like to, day before yesterday's situation that I would like to just hold upon. The NSCN, I had a tenure in Manipur during the intense underground, militancy time, way back in 94, 92, 90. At that time, the, insurgency problem was very intense. And that the NSCN never touches ladies and the religion leaders. This is what used to be there. And nothing is permanent in this world, keep changing, but I don't know if things have changed or not. But the principle which the NSCN had was that they never touch ladies. If army officer is moving with a lady, they will never touch the lady. the officer, if the lady is there, and children are there, and the religious leader. This is one thing which I would like to put across to the nation. And secondly, as I said before, there's a lot of understanding between the communities. Let me tell you, Lamjatang Haukev is from the Thado community. I sit together with him in Imphal, and we had lunch also together in one of the occasions. We have the same type of understanding, but then what happened is, I have been telling again and again, which we will see subsequently also, when there is a peace, then there are some force who do not want peace in the state. That is why it is happening. We have seen it. There was so many things development coming up and all those things, but then suddenly things are frozen again, and a lot of difficult situations are cropping up in the hills also, in the valley also. And why is it so? As I analyze, the beneficiaries of Burma Act is also playing a very big role in the state. The beneficiaries I'm talking about. So this we have to understand. And until the time the people, the citizen of India, that means who came to Manipur before 1961, if we don't unite and understand, then this boiling will keep on happening in Manipur, because vested interest people are playing a big role in our state. A very unfortunate on our, with the people staying over here. I would submit.
So let me bring in former ADG BSF here. Sir, when Mr. Sapam says there are people with vested interests, who is he referring to? Because this is not the first time that, such claims are being made. It has been, one allegation that has repeated since the violence started, that there are external forces aiding these groups. Who are these external forces, sir?
Deepak, I have spoken several times. Even yesterday also I have spoken in your channel who are the external forces. There is nothing to hide about that. Colonel Sapam was just mentioning about Burma Act. You see, $120 billion or $137 billion are being sanctioned by CIA for Burma every year for these rebels to fight against the junta. And that money, some part of it comes to Manipur and Mizoram. There is nothing to hide. This is coming. And then the weapons are also coming. I will also tell you, Deepak, with that, it's not that yesterday when we discussed that the JDUF was involved in this killing of this Baptist Church leaders. That is the JDUF, which is a part of NSCN-IM. I can well tell you it is not JDUF only. It is the KLA Letkolen group also is involved. We have to be very cautious. It is a new group. KLA Letkolen group is also there. I will also mention here. You see, our UKLF is also part of SU. But yet, in Thronglobi, where the two children, they were killed and the lady was injured, that was more or less the information it comes that it was done by UKLF, which is a party to SOO. And now you see what has happened just yesterday. It is not that now 20 more or 24 more to be released who are there in custody. You see, the Chandel is also completely, Chandel block is there. Whole Chandel district is totally blocked. What for it is there? There is another model in Noni district yesterday, where one Wilson Thanga was killed. He was from Naga group, and that is how Chandel district is totally closed today. And violence is continuing in Chandel, and Nagas are losing it. So I can see the statement of Bibobi, our ex-chief minister. That is okay. Political development will there, political statements will be there. But again, Deepak, I am telling you what I found, what we found at boundary pillar 90 in Kamjong district on India, Manipur, Myanmar border, BP number 90. The improvised explosive devices were planned by KNA of Burma against our forces. So this is all happening in the border at the boundary pillar. So until this Burma Act, CIA's involvement, China crossing of weapons, crossing of drugs, crossing of money, crossing of dollars, parties are there in Manipur and Mizoram, those who are getting it. There is nothing to hide it. They are getting money, they are getting drugs, and they are getting weapons. Those weapons are
Sir, if we know what the source is, then why aren't those channels being cut off?
Several times I have told in your channel that I do not know the reason for which we cannot deploy a border guarding force in Manipur-Myanmar border. What is the problem when we are having thousands and thousands of forces? So that has to be blocked. And see what has happened in the boundary pillar number 90. Our forces would have been killed. The ID was immediately, that was found and it was destroyed by Assam Rifles. So what is all happening? Colonel Sapam was telling the truth. Because of Burma Act, because of this, billions of dollars are coming to Burma, that is to Myanmar, is open, completely open. So now, I told you what about this UKLF? UKLF is a party of Sioux, but then they are going for violence. We have to see to it. How come when they are party to Sioux, they cannot go for violence and fire rockets in Tronglobi. And you see the KLA group, KLA Lamtalan group, they are also involved in this killing, including JDWeb. It is all between these two groups. So violence has come back.
Violence has come back. There are new groups that are taking birth.
Absolutely.
But Brijesh, what are the problems and what are the obstacles to act on this front, on taking on these groups and these external forces that we know from where the weapons and drugs are being supplied?
Well, I think what is happening is that the external forces which we are talking about, as Mr. Mishra very rightly pointed out, is something which is not new. As Colonel Sapam was also pointing to, this is something which we have discussed ad nauseum. People know, people in the know about what kind of role is being played by these external organizations. But I think we need to formulate a strategy first to tackle the internal situation, which is to make sure that there is a political progress as far as the conflict between the Kuki Meitei ethnicity is concerned. There has to be effective political implementation and also security implementation working in absolute tandem with the local forces to make sure that that the tension or the escalation between Kuki and Nagas don't arise or don't spiral out of control. Right now what is happening is that when you are hoping that that there is a degree of peace which is prevailing in the state of Manipur, you see one killing of one particular ethnicity which is enough to destroy whatever progress you have made. Still approximately 20 people are in they are still in custody of various groups, and it'll be I would pray to God that nothing unfortunate happens to them, and like the kind of release which we see today happens there. But if you're not able to take control of the internal situation, what happens is that it gives a real free hand to the people who are external enemies of the India, and they would want to create as much mischief as possible to make sure that that the peace process is never able to gain any kind of traction, and this is the big problem. I think the government has to adopt a multi-pronged strategy to make sure that we are very effectively tackling those external forces which are trying to destabilize the country, but B, also to make sure that that there is enough boots on the ground to make sure that that most of these civil societies which are roaming around with heavy weapons which have been looted also brought back. So there has to be a stern security message, but also at same time a good enough political messaging also to make sure that people voluntarily get out of that flux. But honestly speaking, a lot has to be done in order to restore normalcy.
Mr. Misao, people of Manipur are missing out on a lot. The freedom that we are talking about, that is absent since the violence began, and there is a constant atmosphere of fear that has also made way to such clashes being repeated in instances. So Mr. Misao, what is the sense on the ground? Are people losing faith in both the government as well as the forces, or what is it like?
Well, Deepak, before I come to your question, I would request PK Mishra to correct his information. ZUF and KLA under no circumstance will come together. So, blaming both as the perpetrator of the ambush on the church leaders, I think that information has to be verified and corrected. Second, UKLF, I think such name is not there. If there's a new party or organization called UKLF, I don't know. but UKLF is never part of this Sioux group. So I think, PK Misra, with due respect, with your former, post and position as ADG of BSF, it would be wise from a substance and with evidence. And what you are saying, CIA pumping a huge amount of money to Myanmar, that could be to the Myanmar crisis. I don't know how much evidence do we have that such money are coming into Manipur. Yes, of course, the arms smuggling might happen. I think, when you are also, talking about the large number of infiltration in terms of arms and people, one way you are discrediting the services of your, personnel, especially BSF and Assam Rifle. Coming to your point, Deepak, I would say, as Brijesh was rightly pointing out, what is happening in Manipur is purely internal matter, and this internal matter has to be solved through the law and order. If the law and order, which is the subject matter of the state, I think the state government has to take proactive action towards all these things. And plus, I would say, since the beginning of this conflict, because Manipur, there was such peace which three communities, major community, lived peacefully, for which even the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, called it the Jewel of India. Such Jewel of India, where people live peacefully, coexistence was there. And when this kind of violence and conflicts between peoples broke out, who are the one who paid the price? The common people, the poor people, are the one who paid the price. And I since the beginning of the conflicts in Manipur, I have plainly and loudly speak it out in the local media, saying that these conflicts, there's a player. This player we need to identify, and unless we identify this player, no one will be a winner. We all will be a loser. If we now look at what the hostage crisis here, we take pride in saying that we are one of the largest power in terms of military, in terms of economy. How can we can't resolve this hostage crisis? And the very fact that numbers of hostages has been released proves that the locations can be, located very easily. Why are the security forces not taking enough action so that the people who are held hostage can be released?
Hejang, I would also want to know from you, but what stops the civil societies of both sides to step into action? Because we know what happens when, excessive force is used when a tricky situation like this, when abductions have already been taken place and captives are being kept. So, where is the civil society? Where are the people who form pressure group of these ethnicities?
Civil society have done enough. They've been making appeal to one another for the release of these hostages. As Deepak Santi Kumar rightly pointed out, they are in the hands of the armed groups. So when those hostages are in the hands of those armed groups, what civil society, I think sometimes it is beyond their capacity. For that reason, I'm saying if security forces are there and already located where they are, why don't we take enough action so that these hostages, who are innocent civilians, are released? I think that's what I'm saying is, there's some player who let all these things happen. That's the reason why I'm saying, why are we so foolish enough that we become the prey of this player? I think enough that we must come to our sense and come back together and fight these forces which are dividing us, which are letting us fight. Unless we do that, I think Manipur will keep burning. That is what the player wants.
Sir, it's also the CSO's responsibility, like Brijesh said, and the conflict management mechanism in Manipur has completely collapsed, and politicians are also to be blamed there, indigenous politicians. But, sir, Shanti Kumar Sapam, the MHA has also furthered the date now for the probe report into Manipur violence to November 20th. And on one hand, you can see there's already a Meitei versus Kuki conflict how, when do you see the resolution of this conflict? And do you think that the Naga Kuki front that has also now opened up will further deteriorate the reconciliation efforts? Because the killings have already disrupted that peace process.
Here, one question just strike me. You know, these Kuki militants, they are able to take both the communities now. It's a matter of great concern. And if they don't have the power, or if they do not have the resources, then how can they tackle it? Single round of bullet, if it is fired, it costs. So now it is taking both the, other communities. They are ready to take it. This is also a very big, we should be concerned about this. The government, central as well as the state government, should be concerned about this. What is happening around? One group which was just few population, they are able to take, the mighty NSN also. Mighty NSN is the oldest, oldest insurgent group in the northeast, and very well organized. And even they are ready to take it. This is one question which I want to ask the nation. And secondly, what I want to say about the Burma Act, and this space, Chinese are playing, US is playing. Burma Act is an act. It is a bill passed in the House and the Representative basically. It is passed with budget. Every year budget is passed for this. Like we have development budget, medical budget and things like that. It is passed like that, and every year the budget is sanctioned, and for what? And that is also, specified for training, for supply of medicines, bulletproof, radar, and all these things are to be supplied with this money. And one more thing also, with the refugees also. There are many things, specified in Burma Act which are written down. It is in the domain, public domain. So whether it comes to Manipur, remains in Burma, and the Thanglenpo Guite, part of the Sioux. Thanglenpo Guite was MP in Myanmar, at that time Burma, in 1990, and he is part of the Sioux in Manipur. So he also has to be a big beneficiary of Burma Act. So that is what I am saying, that, when it comes, that it doesn't come with the, check, sign and things like that. It comes in a different way. So Chinese are also playing, US also playing, and India, since it is our country, so India also has to play, seeing and looking at the anthropology angle, basically. That is what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Mr. P.K. Mishra, my final question to you is, who is really in control of these hill districts, and do you think these armed groups are getting stronger and stronger by the day because of the terrain and also the porous border?
And if I may add one line, who's the player who Hijang is hinting at? Who's the player which is able to destabilize everything and nothing is happening to him? If you can hazard a guess.
Yes, I clearly spoke. Are you listening? Is it?
Yes,
am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible, please? Yeah. I can well tell you, I definitely spoke that it is suspected that the killing was done by JDF and KLAL. This is the suspicion, and our security forces will definitely find it out. But as far as the border is concerned, I can well tell you, BSF is not deployed in Manipur-Myanmar border. Sorry to tell it. They are not deployed. Even Assam Rifle is also not deployed in BOP concept in Myanmar border. They are much away from the border. That is how the border is completely open. I will only tell you, didn't 5 Ukrainians and 1 American chap, they entered Myanmar through Mizoram with weapons and drones? Did they not contact the rebels, gave them the training, and they came back? It is all happening. So what Manipur facing, it is all there in the hillside. The weapons are coming and weapons are more. It's not that in plain weapons are not. Plain weapons are there, which were taken away from all our armory. They are available in our plain area. But in the hill districts, it is coming from Myanmar, and I stand for it. I fully stand for it that porous border, due to porous border, this is what is happening. It is dollars are converted into rupees. Money is being transacted to Churachandpur through Mizoram, and a lot of drugs are coming. And you find now in Guwahati also. A lady was caught with drugs of crores of rupees. I don't want to name that lady and from which community she belongs. I'm sorry, I will not tell it. It is a fact which is happening in Churachandpur, and I will tell you, you go from to More, both the sides towards Sita and all, you find rock. A lot of villages are coming up where these people, they have come from Myanmar. Until and unless we don't close the border, things will continue, because I have operated in that terrain. I will not listen to anybody. I have personally operated in Manipur. When I was operating towards Singhat and Shanghai Court and those areas, the militants used to go. They used to go and enter Myanmar because the border was open. So nothing happens. You cannot catch them. So our hill districts, and we have to close the border. That
right, sir. You're saying that the need of the hour is closing the border,
yes,
but I'd say, Brijesh, that
absolutely.
people of Manipur really deserve better. But hostage release is a good step, but I see it as a temporary truce.
It is. I think it's a temporary truce. It's a very good thing, and of course, I mean, you know, Manipuris definitely deserve much better than what has been happening to them. It's been a 3 years of, you know, incessant violence, which is literally
Right.
Yeah.
Sir, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your valuable insights. It's time for a quick break, viewers, but on the other side, in On Point 2, we tell you about a major geopolitical shift that may now be underway in South Asia. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief General Asim Munir are expected to visit Bangladesh. The timing is so crucial, and the big question is Pakistan's new Eastern Front coming soon? We decode this. Stay tuned.
First Battle of Panipat, 1914. Madhubani, carbon dioxide, Tropic of Cancer, Kyoto Protocol.
Which city